Are you ready to pay for all that furlough that's been given out over the past 16 months or so? Whether you want to or not, you're going to. The Bank of England have recently come out and said they're expecting inflation to rise above 4% by the end of this year. But I'm here to tell you it's actually going to be much worse than what they're saying, and I'll show you why. UK inflation is expected to rise above 4% by the end of the year, fueled by rising energy costs, the Bank of England has warned. Now, there's actually a lot more things that are going to push the price up, which I'll show you very shortly. Developments over the past month have strengthened the case made in August that some tightening of monetary policy could be necessary to meet the central bank's 2% inflation target sustainably in the medium term, policy bankers have said. The MPC added that considerable uncertainties remain. It said consumer price index inflation, currently at 3.2%, could remain above 4% into the second quarter of next year. Well, it's going to be worse than that, and as I said, I'll show you why in a moment. They're saying the target's 2%, but the thing is, inflation was a lot lower than that last year when they started doing all this QE, quantitative easing, printing money and giving it out, propping up the economy with funny money, because that's what it is. Now, the thing is, whenever they do these things, they always have to aim for over what they're actually getting. That's why now we're heading towards 4%. It's currently at 3.2. They're still not slowing down anything that they're doing. I know furlough's ending this month, but they're still not tightening. And they're obviously not going to raise rates because the economy will crash. Back in the 70s and 80s when they raised rates, they could do that because the economy was a lot stronger in the sense, even though we had a recession back then, the economy was a lot stronger because we had the demographics that could sustain it. We had the correct age demographics that could sustain it. We had a larger workforce that could basically work our way out of it and be more productive, but we don't have that anymore. The age demographics aren't what they used to be from the baby boom generation. Working age demographics, that is. Now, they're saying it could remain above 4% into the second quarter of next year. The CPI numbers they don't actually measure certain things on there, and the reason being is because they want the numbers to always be lower than what they actually are. Because if they said to you, if these numbers are probably more like 7%, you know, that 4% is probably more like 7 or 8%, maybe even more. So if they told you the cost of living's going up 10%, let's say, in this last quarter of the year and into the second quarter of next year, then obviously people aren't going to be happy with that, are they? But if the number's lower, then it doesn't seem as bad, does it? Now, I'm going to show you why it's going to be worse than that. They're just blaming this purely on the rising cost of energy going up, and that will be a factor. You know, in order to produce anything, you need energy, manufacturing, and obviously that drives the costs up of everything, of the products, of the end products. Now, let me show you this. Now, this is the global container freight index, and what it does, it measures the cost of all shipping container costs from China going around the world, America, Europe, different places. It puts it all together and puts it all in one place. It averages out the prices, if you will. Now, this time last year, it was around 1,200, 1,300 for the price of shipping measured on this index, and now it's gone up. It peaked over 11. Currently it sits at $10,839, so it's gone up over 8 times from what it was this time last year. Now, that's a massive increase on shipping container costs. You know, if you think you're going to get bargain Christmas presents this year for your kids or anyone else, it's not going to be the case. Slow down in manufacturing, all these shipping costs going up, and we know that there's problems with shipping, and it also feeds off the energy costs, the diesel costs that have gone up, as well as demand. Everyone who's been paid to sit at home for the past 16 months or so, on and off, they're getting paid not to earn, so they're spending their money Some people had to pay the mortgages or rents for a few months, so they've had all this excess money. So what do? They go on Amazon, pay for things, and it's like a bottleneck of demand. But obviously we're not producing anything either, so that's a big problem. And anyway, as a result, the prices have gone up 8 times or more. Now, once these shipping containers get to the UK, we've also got the problem of the HGV driver shortage. And a lot of it's mostly getting blamed on Brexit, and Brexit is a problem with it, but what they're not talking about is HGV trucking driver crisis happening all over the world right now. If you have a look at this, a recent report by the Transport Intelligence highlighted the fact that Britain is not alone in Europe when it comes to HGV driver shortages. Data from 2020 shows Germany short of 45,000 to 65,000 drivers, while in Poland, whose population is just over 50% of the UK's, the number is almost 124,000, noticeably higher than the 100,000 UK figure referred to by the RHA. And this is all a result because of lockdowns, and let me explain why. When the lockdowns first come in, obviously people are sat at home. There's less demand in shops, in consumer shops, retail stores. Nothing's needing to get delivered. Distribution just went right down. But what didn't change is the big Amazon distribution warehouses. They were still running. They were still allowed to run while you had to close your non-essential shop. So all the HGV drivers, which were working for other companies, which obviously business slowed right down for or just stops altogether, well, they're going to be looking for work, aren't they? So what went through the roof in lockdowns? Amazon deliveries. And they're probably earning just as much driving a Ford Transit around the city where they live all day than what they were driving up and down the country in a HGV. So obviously, what would you rather do, especially if you're out of work and you couldn't do the HGV driving anyway? And would you really want to go back to it? I mean, I know what I'd prefer. I've got a family at home. I'd rather be driving around local all day and then finish at a decent time than have to do crazy shift work, HGV driving up and down the country. I mean, it must be a nightmare. I'm glad people do it though. So you have to realise this whole situation is engineered. Now, what could it be engineered for? Another revolutionary idea by the WEF, the We Enslave Freedomers. That's what it should say. Look what they're calling it. They're calling it an opportunity to make the road freight safer, cleaner, and more efficient. Doesn't it seem incredible that almost every single thing that's happened seems to be on this World Economic Forum's website? It's like they can see the future. Now, we're not going to go into this too deep now because obviously, we would be here all day. But just understand that everything's cause and effect, and this whole situation is engineered, and this is the goal. We'll probably end up having real bad shortages at points, just so people will be more accepting of this kind of technology. And, obviously, all these jobs are going to disappear. And that's unfortunately the road we're heading down. But what can you do? Back to inflation now. What can you do about inflation? As I said, and as I've just pointed out for the reasons above, I think this inflation's going to be... At next year, I think the official number's going to hit 9%. I'll go out there and say it's going to hit 9% at some point next year. Particularly before the end of next year. It'll definitely hit 9%, I would have said. If it's still saying it's 4% and it's still quite low, and we can see prices going up everywhere, I'm gonna get it covered. I'm gonna be keeping an eye on prices myself, making a note of them, and I'll do a video and I'll expose exactly how they manipulate this number down. Now, in terms of what can you do now to try and avoid some of these costs, obviously I'm not saying run out there and buy a load of toilet roll or anything like that, but anything you can buy in bulk consumables that you are going to use next year, then buy it now. Electronics as well. If you're in need of a new TV, a new monitor, now's the time to buy it. Don't wait till next year. I don't advise going out there and buying it if you've not got much in your bank account, because I think times are going to be hard for those who are in that position over the next few months or next few years. But if you're going to buy it anyway, you know, something you're going to buy electronic anyway, then now's definitely the time to buy. Don't wait. If you can buy it now, then buy it now for sure. We know energy is going to go through the roof, so anything you can do now to, you know, improve your finances, don't put it off any longer. Now's the time, because I'm telling you, this Christmas we're going to see prices skyrocket, and we're probably going to struggle to get hold of some of the things we'd normally be able to get quite easily as well. Let me know in the comments below, guys, have you already seen prices rise substantially in places. My partner, she does all the shopping. She said things that were £1 are now £1.20. Some of them have just gone up like a little bit, £1.5. You know, but mostly the prices she's given, there's all over 4%. There's more like, you know, between 5 and 15%. Let's say if your shopping bill goes up 10% year on year, well then you're not getting a 10% pay rise year on year, are you, if you're working a job with a fixed salary? Incredibly unlikely. So this is a hidden tax, make no mistake about it. The government will say, oh, it's because of this, because of that. This is a hidden tax, I'm telling you. Just they're taking it out your back pocket rather than your front pocket. That's all they're doing. And hey, if you was in favour of the lockdowns from the start, then, you know, that's down to you. But understand, this is the consequences of it. You can't get something for nothing. There's just no such thing. Let me know in the comments below what you found has been going up in price. Have you found anything yet? And what are your worries? What are your main concerns about things going up in price? What is it? Is it food? Clothing? Have you noticed any products yet that you'd normally get, which you're actually finding hard to get hold of? Because it's a supply issue just as much as a demand issue. You know, China's had lockdowns as well. Therefore, not as much is coming out of there. So there's going to be massive supply issues this winter. Whether it's real or manufactured, we're going to see a lot less in our shops, that's for sure. If you found the content useful, then make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.